heading down the street!
Benji Carver here, stuck in the warp dimension again. And hey, we got someone who just returned to the warp dimension a few months back with the great Violent Kind reunion that we did. Tiffany Shepis, and we are joined by her husband, Sean Tretta. Hey! And they made an amazing feat, I would say, first of all, of shooting a long short. This is not a short.
Yeah.
In the middle of quarantine, the first wave, should say, of quarantine, shelter in place, inside their home, correct, if I'm not mistaken for that, and with their two children and Tiffany as their three characters. And the film is called Day 14. I think we all can fill in the blank on why it's called Day 14, maybe. But maybe Sean and Tiffany can give more insight to that. How you doing out there?
Oh man, we're good. Thanks for having me back. Like, I feel like it was just yesterday in COVID world time that I last saw you. I feel like it was last night. And at the same time, it feels like 4 years ago that we did that Violent Kind reunion, which was so much fun. Thank you. And thanks for showing this. Yeah. It was our little family labor of love.
Yeah, so our it was in the middle of the first wave of lockdown. I think it was like March is when we kind of started this.
May.
Was it? No,
it was May because we started right after Max's birthday, but you started planning it in
April. So both our kids were complaining all the time about how bored they were. They're like, there's nothing to do. And I'm like, you know what? We should make a film together. And they're like, that sounds awesome.
Like, they actually fought over jobs originally.
They were very excited. And then we started, and in about 30 minutes into the first day, they're like, this isn't fun. We want to quit. And we're like, well, no, we're finishing this thing. But we pushed through, and we'd shoot for half a day, and then we wouldn't shoot for 2 days because we had plenty of time. But eventually we finished it.
Yeah, and we as we were going through it, we were realizing oh wow, this is turning out pretty good. And our kids who were really pissed off about being there, and I'm bribing Max with McDonald's, it's actually turning out really cool and really charming. And so we called around to my horror friends and family hey, you want to do some socially distant cameos? And the minute they said yes, we're like, oh crap, now we really have to finish it. When Uncle Ken 4A says he'll do it, then we're like, damn it, we can't quit now.
Yeah. Especially if it's Ken 4A, because he's still stuck in that helicopter, I believe, somewhere, traveling outside that mall.
Yeah.
That's how it was easy to
get.
Sent a drone up.
Wonderful on there. And so was this a project, created in quarantine, but Tiffany being not just only an actress, but one of the scream queens of the last several decades. I would say, well, and it's exciting because we've had the latest trauma movie, Shakespeare Shitstorm, playing at the festival as well.
How
So
was
it's kind of the bookend. It was fun. I actually like how Lloyd is exploring the opioid epidemic. Other than that,
commentary.
Yeah, on that. But and Sean, I did not know much of your work beforehand, but your work has been very much in the whole head kind of canon. Were you ever? My time here at Another Whole Head has been a couple years. Did you ever have a film here at the festival, or knew about
I don't think so. I mean, we actually met making the fourth sort of indie feature that I made, and then I hadn't made one for a really long time, and then I started doing TV, so I was writing for 12 Monkeys and then Mayans, and then so literally this was just an opportunity. We had time to just make something on our own again.
I think
I would say, but you don't know, like maybe like Death of a Ghost Hunter played their festival, or Great American.
Yeah,
what if it was on your radar? That was the main thing. So,
oh yeah.
It's our 17th annual film festival. We always play we have almost 300 films playing this year.
Oh, wow.
We have a very large
But
canon.
damn it, why haven't you played one of his movies before?
When I made my first one, I was so broke. Like, I think I was only able to submit it to like 3 film festivals. I think that was it. So I may have missed it out of a pure, financial insufficiency. But it would have been great.
Yeah. Well, we do have a free weekends sort of deal. I'm doing separate projects. If you follow on Instagram and Twitter, we have what we call Warp Dimension TV. This is kind of a part of it, our interview show. But we invite filmmakers on afterwards for a screening, usually on Saturdays or Wednesdays, and we show it. Wednesdays have been our VHS nights. So if you have a VHS, I think a couple of them are shot on video.
Wow.
We definitely love bringing that on.
That's cool.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
That's really awesome. When it's do you do it in person when it's not awful COVID end of the world time?
So we started everything really. I've been programming with Another Hole in the Head for about 2 years, and I've been showing my stuff at the festival the last couple years, 5 years about. So this whole thing started from the pandemic. So this has kind of been George and Romany and myself's project of building like Warp Dimension, and Another Hole in the Head being like, when it comes back, if it's in a theater, we have like kind of a multi-tiered platform, like on demand, live shows, online, plus also if theaters are safe to be back in. So
that's awesome. So, when it's back,
so
we're coming.
Yeah.
And so, but back to day 14 a little bit. My main question was, Tiffany, I know you've been in a couple of Sean's previous projects. Prometheus Project, I think, was one of them. But was there always a movie that was kind of planned, that was kind of apocalyptic, or anything beforehand? Or was this kind of just
you know what it really was? It's like, all of life is apocalyptic at this point, and our son Max there's a fort that he builds in the middle of the living room in the short, and he just built that. And I was looking at it, I'm like, if she and I weren't here, he would just build a fort in every room.
Yeah.
And then so that got me thinking, like 2 kids, they're in like a quarantine lockdown situation. There's no parent, what's going on? Why is there no parent? And it just sort of, I think the idea just kind of came from that. It really just came from Max's fort, honestly.
Yeah. Which is hilarious about like the fort. So he builds these things and they're crazy elaborate, and they have like window cutouts so you can like play video games in them, and snack holders and like weird secret compartments. But if it wasn't COVID time, I would have tore that shit down on like day 2. That thing was up for like a month and a half. And
then it became dirty. A hot set. So it's like we can't touch it. We still have scenes to shoot. You can't, we had the windows boarded up and like,
Oh yeah, it was bad. And then like at one point I even think like the dog like decided to like chew up part of it. He probably even peed on it, and we're like, just cut that part out. We have to repatch it.
Our neighbors are wondering why Tiffany is screaming her head off in the middle of the night.
Yeah. Yeah, it became just a cool little project to do that. We originally did it, I think it was like just for us. Like we had no intention of like showing it to festivals or whatever. And then it like I said, it kind of just turned out like much better than we anticipated. And then like our socially distant friends just kind of added like the icing on the cake. We're like, well, we have to put this out there. It's kind of something interesting that people don't see all the time. And you're seeing like the inside of our real life messy house. It's like just like everyone else.
It's great that you lucked out on having a production designer as well with you. So
I had literally like, and if you watch the short, there's like a corridor made of plastic. I bought that plastic because I wasn't sure I wasn't going to have to corridor or section off parts of our house during the pandemic.
Yeah, Benji, we went like straight Walking Dead when lockdown happened. Like ordered ton, like we didn't do like toilet paper and shit like that, even though we should have, because I think we did run out. But like, you know, like meats and canned goods and plastic. Because Sean was like, what if someone's sick and we have to block off a room? And I was like, that's dark. Yeah. But you're right. Get more duct tape. And then when we had to use it in the movie, I was like, oh, this is so eerie. And thank God, knock on wood, no one in our real life got sick. So yeah, just on film.
You just on film. Yeah. And also, and Sean, being kind of choosing the look, because we were talking a little bit before we started this other short that has kind of similarities. What I love also about it is that yours is much more brighter. It's a brighter film. The other film is very shot in shadows and dark and stuff like that. Choosing that, because a lot of apocalyptic films always do the dark filters, you know, more on that end. What was choosing more brighter? Kind of,
I was just going for an Amblin look. So I was just going for like an 80s, like kind of Spielberg look. So, you know, a lot of just kind of simple shots, and it's got kids in it, so it should be colorful. And but I wasn't gonna go for like the desaturated look, or have it be it's like two normal kids in like a normal house, and I think that needed to be the vibe of it.
Yeah. But I also think like you thought, or we in our regular life like to think that there's hope. And like that even in this movie that is about something different than what we're all going through, like you got to remain hopeful, and these kids had to remain hopeful. So I don't know. I think it would have been weird if you were like, it was all dark and black, and then if I died.
Yeah, and it has her kids in it, so we don't want it to be like too. And she's like, "We'll do this, but it better have a happy ending."
Yeah, because I read it and I was sobbing, like, and I'm like, oh, like I know it was just like it was a great script, but it was also like, lockdown and like every other emotion, and we're stuck inside. And I'm reading, I'm sobbing. I'm like, this better be good. Like, it has to be so happy. It has to be so happy. Like, I can't think constantly that, life followed art.
And so what are your reflections now? Because that's great. You mentioned the Amblin look, because I feel like the very last shot that you do is very, very Spielberg inspired and stuff like that. Yeah. But now we're in kind of this new wave and stuff like that. Do you feel different towards the ending, or is it still kind of that you're coming out of that quote unquote wave kind of thing?
Yeah, it was weird because like we wanted it to be hopeful, but we also, that was a concern of mine, because I didn't want the ending to be like, we don't have anything to worry about anymore, so go out and don't wear your mask and stuff like that. Like that wasn't the intent. It was like, it really is exactly what, as Ken Foray says in the end, like, if we can get through this, we can get through anything. But you have to get through it first, And, look, I'll be honest with you, there's a reason why they come out of the house on day 46. There's a very specific illusion there. So, that's what was going on. Is like, you can overcome anything if you put in the work and like you believe in each other and you take care of each other. And that's kind of the message of the whole thing, is like, I don't want to repeat the whole, like, we're all in this together, but yeah, that.
Yeah, it's interesting. When I first saw it, because Tiffany mentioned it at the Violent Kind reunion, I was like, oh, we have a film festival. Let's we'll definitely put it on, kind of thing. And then watching it was sort of like this question of like, yeah, like the March, April, very dark, dire, and then sort of like summer uncertainty, and then of course what happens in end of October, November, and then that kind of creates. And now we're kind of in this, in especially California, where we're at right now is again this sort of weird sort of like we've been kind of through this, but it's also even more uncertain to a certain rate. But yet we also have a vaccine now, or 2 vaccines really, and so it's like it's an interesting kind of where this kind of looking at each time this short film at 3 different times in in our 2020. So
I mean, in ours also though, I mean, they turn into a zombie. You know, it's like
well, I always that's that big debate though, right? Isn't it like zombie infected? What is it?
It's
You know?
true.
It's more of a 28 days later thing going on. And it's like half the time, so it's 14. But you know, but like when we made it, we really thought like everyone's gonna lock down, we're gonna get through this, and then by like November, maybe things will be better. And that's not what happened. But it's what will happen. It just took longer than all of us wanted.
Yeah. But it's funny, like the people that you see at the end are real life neighbors. And everyone in our particular pocket of the neighborhood locked down the same way we did and was very, very distanced. And, you know, people would be dropping off like things at people's doors, like, oh, I know they needed flour. And it really was like this community that came together. And I remember kind of like feeling that like when we made our little film, like that's what these kids are doing. Like they're figuring it out. And I don't know.
I mean, because you mentioned like the shot at the end, like, you know, that's like literally this thing started so small. Like the first day we were shooting, was the scene where we had the 2 kids on the roof, right? And I realized my ladder wasn't tall enough to get them up there. So I knocked on my neighbor's door and I'm like, hey, can I borrow your ladder? And they're like, hey, our son has a drone. Do you want a drone shot? I'm like, yeah, bring the drone. Like, you know. And so he got that drone shot of like the neighborhood, and then I digitally, you know, covered up all the windows and stuff like that. So, and like, you know, and we were making this whole thing like on our own, but like when originally the short ended with the 2 kids just go outside, they tear the sign, and then they go back in the house, and we shot that. And I was like, I started cutting it together. I'm like, it needs a bigger ending. And so we're like, I bet all our neighbors would love, because they kept asking us like, when's the movie going to be done? And I'm like, so we actually just used them as themselves. And I had the neighborhood kid do that drone shot and like leave it up there, and we'll have the whole credits roll over. So it was a nice little, like, for those 2 things, like nice little community moment for us.
And this was shot in the Santa Clarita Valley, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good old Antelope Valley up there. I've definitely worked on a few projects up in Acton primarily.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's another time for another story as well. But what's really exciting also.
Separate film festival.
Oh yeah, it's. Did you by chance throw up a projector at all or anything and show it to the neighborhood?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
We did. Yeah.
And they all went crazy for it. I mean, it's because it's sweet and it's sentimental. So it's not like you're showing people like a crazy just horror film where people are like, oh my god, that's great. Like you had like a lot of like, oh my god, that's so good, and then like a lot of laughs with like his Trump stuff during the credits.
Well, that's great. And so kind of moving into what you I think premiered at Screamfest in October.
Yeah.
And then of course now you're here at another Hole in the Head on demand here right now for the 27th. So I picked it primarily through I don't know if you looked at the program, but it's through Benji's Cosmic Finds, and it's number 3, and it's dramatic performances. I picked another side that was dark drama, but I was highlighting primarily children actors in like dark situations. So that's where that's where we kind of found that into. But Yeah, so if you had a chance to look at anything else that's been playing with it, well, one film particularly is about like some East Los and Noel G's in it as well.
Oh,
Called The
really?
Turnaround, and I highly recommend it because it's what you think is like a hood film, and it is, but it's also like about panic attacks and stuff like that, about male masculinity and stuff like that. So partially why I say that because Sean, you have written for the Mayans TV series.
Yeah.
And I was very excited to see that. I'm a big fan of that series. I've not watched all of season 2, but season 1 as well. And is that primarily what you've been doing now in since kind of moving into not making your own independent features, but with writing and
Yeah, I mean, I went from making the indie stuff, and then I lucked out and sold a TV pilot, and then ended up writing on 12 Monkeys, which is about a pandemic and the end of the world, and trying. So I had 4 years of that, and then I went right into Mayans, and they're shooting season 3 right now. So yeah, so it was nice. You know, and you know, TV's different than like making your own stuff. Like, you know, TV's very like collaborative and stuff like that. So it was nice to just make something that was ours again, because we hadn't gotten to do that for quite some, you know, for a few years.
Mhm.
And I think this is what IMDb tells me in my research. Devil's Night, is that a movie that you've been working on, or what is?
It was a movie that I wrote that Blumhouse was gonna make, and then they didn't make it. They kind of made Halloween instead, and made millions and millions and millions of dollars. But yeah, there's I actually I can't even say, but I have other feature stuff in the pipe, and yeah.
And they're cool, and they're horror, so it's feature stuff going back to the horror roots.
Yeah, I think that's why I think we've definitely. I'm very excited to be showing Day 14, but I think building a relationship with the Trettas, I call it, I think is something I'm really excited to bring more into, because especially also Latino horror is something that I've kind of danced around myself with. I have a project of my own that I've been working on, debating whether to move back to Los Angeles as well, just to finish it up. We did a short version of it.
There you go. Do it. You have your other brothers with Mitch Altieri and Phil Flores. Like, you know, they've got your back. We've got your back.
Yeah.
So you've got a team.
Well, thank you on that. But also, Tiffany, I want to highlight Model Behavior, film that you have a producer credit on. Is it called Model Behavior? I'm mistaken for that. Or is it
Model Hunger?
Model Hunger. I know I was going to screw that up. So yeah.
That was a long time ago.
Well, what's interesting is when we did the Warp Dimension Fest back in September, we had VHS Massacre 2 play, and that highlights a lot of Deborah's journey on dealing with censorship and stuff like that. And then doing the research for y'all, I was like, oh wait, like Tiffany produced this, like, and just sort of like, and I know that's gone through.
No, I mean, I was producer just on paper. It was, I think, a gift from one screen queen to another. Like, I'm going to put you guys all as producers on it, but I did absolutely zero on the production side of it.
Yeah.
But I was an actor in it, and so was Lynn Lowry, and it was Miss Debbie Rochon's directorial debut, which was pretty cool. You know, like, I think it's awesome when anybody wants to try directing, because it seems fucking hard.
I mean, you only know how to do it. I mean, it's funny. You watch as many videos, take classes, but you know, it's like actually directing, especially for y'all, directing your own family members, your 2 kids. How do you bribe actors, but also how do you keep it real with them?
Oh God.
All that stuff like that.
You know what's interesting about like our family of stuff? Like we joke around about how awful they were, but I really do think it was because they're siblings. So like when Max, the little guy, would like have a breakdown and Mia was ready and like ready to go, and she has to wait an hour because he's throwing a fit, then she's kind of like a pissed off teenager who's like, I'm done. But truthfully, I did like all their like acting coaching. Like I had Max learn his lines, and like we'd study every day after school, and he was so on it that I was like, damn it. Like if he wasn't such a little jerk on set, he'd be such a good actor.
and he didn't quite understand that, like, you know, you get like multiple angles, and so you have to do the thing over and over again. And be like, Max, can you do that again? I already did it. Why are you asking me to do it again? I did it perfectly.
Well, in fairness, you generally would say stuff like, just one more. In my head, I'm like, I know he doesn't mean one more. I know he doesn't. And then it never was. And so me and the kids were like, yeah.
It was a lot of bribing, but and they hated it. But then like when it all comes together, and then like their friends see it and stuff like that, then they get kind of proud of it.
Yeah.
And they win a lot of awards. Those kids have won more festival awards for acting
than any of us.
Like, yeah, I won shit. They've won everything.
It's true.
It's just how the machine works, I guess. They just always like so good because they probably had to suffer so much from their parents. Here you go, kids. Here's another award. Well, that's awesome on that end. Yeah, we have audience awards here at Hall Ahead, so we kind of like, for my cosmic picks are always just like what I think is the best that I found in submissions, and then audience really picks the awards at that end. So I'm like, all right, I can sit back. No one's gonna blame me for anything.
That's smarter. It's a smarter way to go. Like no one ever's looking at you for anything or mad. Nah.
Oh, we'll get texts from people like, hey, blah 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 this, and I'm like audience awards, no influence whatsoever. So, it's like we picked it. That was our way of saying we liked it. So,
and it's a real true audience award now, because it's not like, I could pack the room with like friends and family, right? Like you always see that like when I'm away at a film festival and it's like Joe whatever's movie wins, and we're like, God, that was the worst movie. And it's like, oh, all of Joe whatever's.
He brought his dentist, his high school principal, and
people here.
His mom's here.
And then at that point, I'm like, yeah, that dude should win. He actually brought people. Like I did nothing.
Cowards. So wonderful on there. Yeah, what is kind of the next kind of big project you're excited for, if you can talk about or anything like that? I know 2021 was hopeful. I've had people more hopeful this time of the month than I've had back in September. So I felt like.
Well, I worked on some fun stuff that I can't quite say exactly what it is, but a lot of people have seen the pictures online with a few other super awesome scream queen horror goddesses like Dee Wallace Stone, and produced by Danielle Harris and Serena Vincent and Scout Compton. And we did this really wild thing that I think the fans will really, really like. And so that'll be done soon. And we had to do that all COVID safe, which was very scary. You go get tested right beforehand. You're going, am I going to be the one that can't show up? Like, oh my God. And like, I've never been on a set like that, like with the COVID compliance officers and like which thank God you have that, but it was a little terrifying. But we got to do that. And I got to be part of Joe Bob Briggs' drive-in. I was their radio DJ. So for the pre-show, I had like a fake character that was playing all the music beforehand, which was pretty fun. And I did an audiobook for two super horror fans, Jace Anderson and Adam Girosh, who made the Night of the Demons remake. And they did a book, and it's called Graves Anatomy. And I am the audio reader. So you have to listen to my voice mess up time and time again for like 2 hours.
And which episode of Joe Bob was the DJ set on?
Oh, no, that was for their DriveIn Tour. So I was on, I don't know if you saw it, but they did a Hatchet or Victor Crowley.
Yeah. That's when I got really excited for the interview, because we had just did the Violent Kind, I think, the week after.
Oh, yes.
I was like, this is so cool. Because our world, we had running on just now. Sorry.
That's awesome. We did that, and then they did Joe Bob did like a drive-in tour during Halloween, and they showed, it was sort of like a drive-in film festival, and they did like skits and stuff like that, but there was a pre-show that you could watch like while you're waiting for the movies to start, and it was on your radio. And so it's me, I was your K-Shock radio DJ. And it was hilarious. I got so many people were like, oh my God, I didn't know you were a DJ. That's so cool. Like, acting.
Which I think it's great that you were essentially Adrienne Barbeau in The Fog. That's what I could imagine it being. Like,
yes, although I tried to do like her sexy voice. They're like, no, No. We don't want that. We want it more like this. And I was like, all right.
Not to get off on something, I know Heather Langenkamp hosts a radio show in Malibu on like a short band. You know about that?
That's what I heard. I've never listened to it, but I
think it's only if you're in Malibu you can get it. So kind of
You're only outside your house stalking it.
And Sean, are you working on TV or?
So yeah, we finished writing season 3 of Mayans in lockdown, and then they were actually able to go back and finish or start filming. So they're filming season 3 right now, and I've been very lucky that although we've been locked down and at home, that I've been very busy. So there's some cool feature stuff and some cool TV stuff that haven't been announced yet that I can't really say, but I've been very lucky this year to have stayed very busy, and cool genre stuff too. In fact, most of the things I've been working on are horror, so that's been nice because I missed it. It was nice to make Day 14 because it was the first bit of horror I got to do since like a little bit of the 12 Monkeys stuff that was sort of genre-y.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think that's something that all out there, I mean, 2020 has been a hell of a year. If I wasn't for the Warped Dimension, I wouldn't know what I'd be doing, but it's great that I'm able to meet a lot of people in the work that's in the genre. I think, Sean, also, we have a lot of people that we know, but we've never actually met personally. So I think this is the moment.
We'll compare notes.
But Day 14, everyone, the Trettas, Tiffany Shepis, Sean Tretta, they will definitely made use of their time in 2020. They will definitely be looking back on like, well, we did do something. So on that.
We did, yeah. And if people watch it, write us. Tell us what you think. Like, we'd love to hear it, even if you hate it.
Yeah, that's fine. Just, I mean, you're not gonna hate me naturally.
Yeah.
But if you hate Sean's directing, that's fine.
That's fine.
Tell me about it.
But if you talk shit about my kids, I'm gonna come and find you.
First of all, they couldn't. Like, they're really good, and they're really cute. Yeah, but we're so happy that you suggested playing your festival, dude. Like, you're the best. Thank you so much for doing this. This is a lot of fun, and it gave us something to do on a Friday night other than just start drinking early.
Well, I was gonna say the only thing anyone can say really at the end is saying, "What's the best thing about 2020?" I drank more and no one judged me, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's great. Tiffany, also, you kind of, I think, are rounding out also our trauma history of people coming in. We had not Lloyd Kaufman was here last week with us, and then we had John Brennan for our live show on Wednesday, Brandon Bassam. So you are definitely one of our lights in the Warped Dimension.
Thank you. Yeah, we I love you guys, and I certainly love trauma. Like I consistently say it. It's true. Like I wouldn't be making any movies if it wasn't for them. So I don't know if I should be mad at them because this became my life, or be really thankful. But the John Brennan's the best. Super Trauma alumni. Same with Matt Mangiarides, who both produced the Joe Bob Show, Trauma, and my podcast Casualty Friday, which a little news that's coming back. So I forgot about that. We do have that coming back that I host with Felissa Rose and Kane Hall.
Yeah. So we might my goal is to get John on for the Warped Dimension Wednesday nights as like our jerky boys / like cheap version of Felissa Rose calling in and making really bad jokes and then leaving. Like,
that'd be great.
Because he was saying a lot of it was like, whoa, I was like, oh, finally we can go NC-17 with the show. So.
Well, newsflash, you could also probably just get Felissa to do it too.
But it's we haven't gone down that road just yet. So
I will call it. I will put in the word for you.
But yeah, I'm Benji Carver. You can find me. Do you want any social handles? I always say people don't want to do them anymore, but anywhere to find your.
I don't know them. I think I'm Tiffany Shepis Tretta on Instagram and on Twitter and on Facebook.
I think I'm Sean _Tretta on Twitter.
There's no more of him, so it's pretty easy.
Yeah, I think I'm the only one.
You're in hiding. Yeah. You're like a good writer in hiding. No one can find.
It's really almost purposeless to look for his social media because it's never updated ever. So if
Yeah.
you want to know what he's up to, like look at mine because I'll promote it.
Yeah.
Well, wonderful. Definitely check out Day 14, part of Benji's Cosmic Spines #3, dramatic performances. And we will see them again, hopefully shortly, then later. So
Oh
thanks.
yeah, thank you so much.